Yes, what's happening, people? And welcome back to Gav Goes In. Big up yourselves each and every time. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's enjoying their Friday as well. And listen, Premier League action back tomorrow. Some interesting games tomorrow, man. I think what Tottenham, Chelsea, City are playing Brentford, I believe. Is it Brentford they're playing? No. Who was City playing? I can't remember. Tottenham, Chelsea. What's the other game? Let me check. Let me check. I forgot the games, guys. Let me 1 minute. Let's have a look at the fixtures for tomorrow. So we've got. So let's check. Okay, so yeah, some games tomorrow. So Crystal Palace, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, obviously against Man United at 3 o'clock. Burnley, Arsenal. I think, to be honest with you, that Burnley Arsenal game, I think everyone's obviously going to put Arsenal as the favourites, but Burnley have been in decent form and at home. The way that Scott Parker has got them set up. I think that might be a difficult game for Arsenal tomorrow. Big up to Fitz, big up my guy each and every time. Brighton, Leeds, Fulham, Wolves, Tottenham, Chelsea. Yeah, Liverpool, Aston Villa tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I mean, if ever Arne Slot needs a win, tomorrow's going to be that game, man. And Aston Villa, I believe, Aston Villa won their last 4 league games as well. West Ham, Newcastle, City, Bournemouth, that's the one. And then Sunderland, Everton on Monday. So, you know what? I think this week, there's some interesting fixtures, man, for every team. Sunderland are what? 4th in the league against Everton, who got beat by Tottenham. Sunderland will obviously want to try and get another win. And Everton need to overcome the loss from last week. City, Bournemouth, you've got 2nd versus, I think Man City might be 5th. And City will need to win this game. It's a must-win game against an in-form Bournemouth under a very good manager. West Ham, Newcastle. I mean, West Ham need 3 points, thinking that they're in the bottom 3, and Newcastle are doing well at the moment. And I think if Newcastle win that game, I think that might even shoot at the table as well. Liverpool, Villa, as we know. Tottenham, Chelsea. I mean, that's going to be a good game tomorrow. Well, you hope so. I think whoever loses that game could be in serious trouble. Well, I don't think Thomas Frank will be in serious trouble, but I think they'll be under pressure because Tottenham ain't been great. I mean, they're 3rd in the league at the moment. They got knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Newcastle. And I think Chelsea obviously lost their last league game against Sunderland. So they'll need to bounce back on that one. And then, as I said, the other games, yeah, Palace, Brentford. That should be a good game. Two teams that are doing well this season. So yeah, man, some good, interesting games. 4 weeks ago, I asked you, will Arsenal win the league? And you said, no, Man City will. Does that change for you? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, WXMF. So for me, City are still winning this league. I think City still win it. So I'm not someone that's just going to say something and change my opinion straight away. I think at this moment in time, Arsenal are in the, they are top of the league. They are in the ascendancy right now. But as I said before, Arsenal are 17th for open play goals. So again, they're relying a lot on set pieces. And if that doesn't change, then they're going to be in trouble, man. Like, I have no doubt they're going to be in trouble. So, yeah, they're going to need to continue what they're doing and obviously try and get more plays from more goals from open play. So, but again, I'm definitely going to say City is still, I think City are the one team for me that can put, 5 or 6 wins in a row. They haven't been great this season, but as I said, they're only 6 points off the top, so which is nothing. So, and Arsenal obviously still have to play them. So, yeah, it's one of them things, man, where there's a long way to go, man. But, yeah, that's not changing my mind. I'm still going to say City win this league. Bottle jobs, We'll fuck it out. Some bottle jobs FC. Yeah. Listen, um, I wouldn't even call them bottle jobs, man. They're just someone. They're just a team, Arsenal, that have been. The majority of their team have been together for a while, so they're more settled than other teams. But when it comes down to it, for me, Arsenal have shown too many times that they haven't got what it takes, and under this manager, I'd be more fearful if they were under, a proven winner. But the fact they've got Arteta in charge still, as I said, man, I'm not taking them seriously in that sense. So I'm still gonna say City. City will have something to say in this title race. And as I said, as bad as City have been, they're only 6 points from the top, and the reason Arsenal are top is obvious. They've been the most consistent team. So yeah, it's one of them things, man. They're in the lead at the moment, but let's see how long they can keep it going for. And as I said, they got a game tomorrow against Burnley. You know, you probably would expect them to beat Burnley away from home, but who knows, man? Stranger things have happened in football. So Burnley could be at home. Obviously off the confidence of winning the last game. And nick a draw. You never know. So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see, man. We're gonna get into Man United now anyway. So WXMF says opinions on United's form. My opinions really. I think first things first. Let's be. As a Man United fan, you have to be satisfied that the team have won 3 games in a row. Against Sunderland, Liverpool, and now Brighton, because those 3 games there, I think being realistic and the form that the team were on, you'd probably have to say out of them 3 games, I expected at least 1 win. To think that United have got 3 wins, I mean, as a United fan, you have to be excited. You have to be honest with yourself and say, I didn't see it coming, but fair enough. You have to give credit to the team, give credit to the manager. But for me, more the team than the manager, if I'm honest. But what I would say is people need to be cautious and remain, and as Tom said, it's a starting point. But I think what people need to realize is that these games could have gone very, very different because, again, the Sunderland game I didn't see, so they beat Sunderland 2-0 at home, newly promoted team, fair enough. I mean, I say I didn't see the full game, so I can't really give my opinion on that. But the Liverpool and Brighton game, that could have easily have been, 0 points. It could have easily have been a point each because let's go on to the Liverpool game. Cody Gakpo misses an open goal header. He hits the post twice. He was involved in the cross that come off Bruno for the that hit the bar. You look at Isak missing that chance. People would have said a good save from Sané Lamens, not from me. I think it was more of a poor finish because the way Isak hit that, when you're 1-0 down so early on, when you're going through on goal like that, it's about, for me, it's about decision making, and he should have put his foot through the ball and given Lamens no chance to make the save. So little things like that. And again, Man United had chances. You think of the Bruno Fernandes chance that he missed to make it 2-0. In the end, it didn't really matter because United won the game. But I think in that game could have gone horribly wrong. So as I said, United got over the line, and that's the main thing you have to look at. But let's remain sensible and look at the bigger picture because that game could have easily gone to Liverpool. And in the Brighton game, you think of both of United's goals from Cunha and the one from Casemiro came from Brighton mistakes. People might say United pressed them quite high, which is what caused the mistakes. But, you know how Brighton play. Brighton do take chances in their own area. But I thought a lot of Brighton's mistakes led to United's goals. I don't think United opened up Brighton and showed Brighton levels. I don't see it like that. But again, United capitalised. But you think of the Dorgu one, on another day, that could have been a sending off. He got a yellow card for that. You think of the goal that Mbeumo scored. That was a foul from Luke Shaw on Jorginho Ruta. So again, these things have gone in United's favour. And obviously, thank God it has, because you're looking at 9 points from 3 games, and all of a sudden it's all looking good. But what I would say, let's see, because this game tomorrow, and we're going to go into the game now anyway, this game tomorrow against Nottingham Forest, For me, I'm more interested to see the lineup, and to see um, how, like, what type of players he's gonna choose to break Nottingham Forest down. Because as we know, under Sean Dyche, you know, Forest haven't been great. They're gonna be at home with the crowd behind them. So Forest are gonna have to sit in, and they're gonna allow United to have the ball and see if United can break them down. And this is why I'm interested to see who he picks, because the best way to break down a low block for me, big up to Exedra, big up my guy. The best way to break down low blocks for me, you need to have players that are press resistant in the final third, that can create openings for me. So I'm looking at the fact that if you've got a Matthias Cunha, with his individual brilliance, he's capable of breaking down a low block. You look at Ahmad. I would like to see Ahmad high up the pitch to break down a low block. And then you've got the likes of Mbuemo, Xerxes can break a low block, possibly Kobe Manu. And the reason I've mentioned all those players, probably and again, I'm not saying he's terrible in possession, but with the exception of probably Mbuemo, because I'm looking at Xerxes, Cunha, Ahmad, Kobe Manu. These guys are all press resistant players and very good in possession. So players like that, you need to kind of do something out of the ordinary to break a low block. The majority of them players will have to play, but they're not going to. So I'm already looking at Man United and I'm thinking, how is he going to break down the low block? Because if you've got Brentford sitting deep in their shape, that long ball's not going to be on. So the likes of someone like Brian Mbuemo, who has been, you can tell Brian Mbuemo has definitely been the beneficiary of the long ball, because again, Mbuemo with his pace and his physicality, it's going to be a factor definitely. So what I would say is, how is he going to be able to get Brian Mbuemo into the game to nullify his goal scoring? Because as I said, I just don't see how United break them down with the players that I think he plays. Because Cunha's going to play. He's the one player that can break a low block. But I think he's going to play Mason Mount. Benjamin Sesko for me has a chance of playing. But I just got a feeling he plays Mason Mount. And again, we're going to go through the team in a bit. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at two players that potentially start the game in Ahmad and Cunha. And they're the only two players that I'm looking at that can break a low block. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But, yeah, it's mad. Lion Tower says, if Forest beats United, you'll be on the coach again. Well, as I said, man, like, big up Daniela as well. As I said, I'm not going to come on there every week and start bashing the manager, because it's wasted. It's a waste of my time, really. The facts are the fact that this manager has got 3 wins in a row. The fact that he made it this far is the problem in itself. But if there's any fan that continuously comes on and says, this manager has to go, it's a waste of time, because Ineos have already shown us that they've actually failed. So I think what we have to do is just look at take one game at a time, and just make the judgment from there. And my opinions on this manager are not going to change. I'm still going to say this manager has to go. But as it stands right now, there's not going to be no get this manager out, etc., because it's just a waste of time. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well. Big up. So yeah, it's a waste of time me saying Amorim has to go, etc. I'm taking one game at a time. And if United do lose, then this is when we can try and pick faults with the manager, with his team selection, or with players themselves. But I think at this moment in time, again, if any of you have been watching this channel for any amount of time, you would know that my opinions on this manager, he does have to go. The fact that he made it this far is the problem in itself. But I think at the moment there's no point coming on there saying Amorim has to go, because, as I said, it's a waste of time. But yeah, no, just going back onto breaking down this Nottingham Forest team that are going to sit deep. And again, we'll go through their team as well. But I'm more interested to see his lineup because, as I said, you need more players in your attack that are capable of individual brilliance in a sense. Because when you got a team that is sitting deep and there's no spaces, this is where you need your ball players. You know, and as Edra said earlier, this is a game for Kobe Minu. It is, but Kobe's not going to play. So you know what I mean. This is the problem. So already, players that we're saying or that we think should be playing are not going to get game time, unfortunately. So I can see Kobe coming off the bench again for 10 minutes and trying to make something happen. But you know what I mean, it's not right Kobe coming off the bench and doing that because he needs more game time than that. But the manager clearly doesn't rate Kobe Minu. So as I said, yeah, it's one of them things where Kobe's not going to start and we have to see what he does. But just getting onto the team sheet. And again, guys, make sure you're putting in what you think the team Amorim's going to go with. You know, because I don't think there's going to be too much change from the Brighton game. But I think he could make one or two changes. Obviously, Lamens will be in goal. You know, Lamens obviously has been a massive difference maker so far. But what I would say, even though Lamens has been good, you know, there's still gonna be tough times ahead for Lamens, in my opinion, because I want to see how he reacts to when he does make a mistake, because he will make a mistake eventually, you know, and it's how you react from that. Man United will lose a game, so confidence will be a bit low. But at this moment in time, as I said, man, he has been very good so far with his calming influence. His kicking's been good. So yeah, at this moment in time, man, let's see what happens. But I remain everyone. I think everyone needs to just be realistic and think not every game is going to go the way of Lamens. So it's how he reacts to see how he progresses really. So Lamens will be in goal. I think the back three is going to be interesting. Obviously, Lissandro's back in training, but Lissandro's not going to figure, you know, and you know what I mean? Is Lissandro behind both Luke Shaw and Aiden Heaven? That's the question. So again, he's back, but I think the back three should stay how it is with Lenny Oro, Delict, and Luke Shaw. But I've just got a feeling he might play Harry Maguire. And if Harry Maguire plays, you know, that means Lenny Yoro will be on the bench, which is just ridiculous. But I've just got a feeling, yeah, he's going to play Harry Maguire. Because I'm looking at Milenkovic, you know, and you can say Matthias de Ligt can deal with Milenkovic if there's a corner against, you know, and obviously you got Sesko, but he might not play, who knows. But you got Milenkovic, who's an aerial threat. You know, you've got I think Chris Wood might be injured, but you've got Igor Jesus, you know, who's quite good, who's quite decent in the air as well. So I'm just thinking, does he play Harry Maguire away from home to nullify the threats that Forest have? Again, Chris Wood, I'm not sure if Chris Wood's fit, but Chris Wood's an aerial threat. Milenkovic is an aerial threat. And does he go with Harry Maguire purely because of that? You know, me personally, I'll just keep with the Ligt. You know, I'd like to see Aiden Heaven play, but Luke Shaw's going to play De Ligt and Yoro, because De Ligt, for me, can handle any aerial threat that comes his way. And for me, he's the best defender in the world right now. You know, I'd argue that with anyone. I know people will say Gabriel. You know, obviously Van Dijk hasn't been the Van Dijk, so he's not in the conversation right now. But if I'm looking at the best defender right now in Europe, you know, possibly the world, you know, De Ligt's up there for me, definitely. 100% up there. So, and he's capable of dealing with any threat that that Forest want to pose for me. So, yeah, I'll keep the same back three. But I just think that he could make one change there. And if it is Harry Maguire, we know it's going to be for Lenny Yoro. So, but I'd go De Ligt, Yoro, and Shaw. The wing backs, I think he keeps the same. And again, it's mad to think that you've got someone like Mazraoui, yeah? Mazraoui last season was arguably Man United's best player or most consistent player. Mazraoui, for me, this is where this system kind of kills him, because if you're playing a four at the back, you know, and you've got two right back options in Mazraoui and Dalot, Mazraoui starts for me all day long. But the fact that, you're playing three at the back and Mazraoui's not as effective as a wing back, and really he's better as a right side or left sided centre back in this system. The fact that you got so many options there now with the Lenny Yoros, the Delicts, Shaw, Heaven, Maguire, you know what I mean? Lissandro's back now. It now means that he's now got to settle for a place on the bench, which is just crazy because he's one of United's most consistent players, if not the most consistent. But now he can't get game time, which is mad. So, guys, keep your questions and comments coming in. I'll definitely get back to them once I've gone through United's lineup. And then, so yeah, I think Ahmad and Dallo are going to play. I mean, the Dallo one is frustrating because it's nothing to do with, for me, Amorim wanting a left-sided player to play on either side. Ahmad has to play because although I hate seeing Ahmad play wing-back, but Ahmad is one of United's best, is one of our best players, so has to play. And it means that he has to play in the wing-back role because obviously Mbeumo plays as a right 10. Now, he wants to play Dallo. So unfortunately, when Dallo plays, it means that Patrick Dorgu's on the bench. So if you look at Sporting Lisbon under Amorim, Amorim had two left-footed players playing as wing-backs in Quenda and I can't remember the other guy. I think it might have been something Arroyo or something like that. I can't remember his name. So he had two left-footed players playing wing-back. The fact that he plays Dallo out there, and some people might say he plays Dallo out there because it means that Luke Shaw can overlap, etc. He's only playing Dallo because he wants to play Dallo, because it's more than him seeing Dallo fitting into the system. He's playing Dallo because it's his compatriot, and it means that Patrick Dorgu, being the younger player, has to miss out, unfortunately. And it means Mazraoui, even though I don't like seeing Mazraoui as a wing-back, but it means he has to settle for a game on the bench. So, but yeah, I can see Dallo and Ahmad keeping their places. The midfield two, as I said, won't change. Casemiro and Bruno will play. Obviously it's his favoured pairing. So yeah, that's going to be the same. And then the front, I mean, the two tens. I mean, Mbeumo and Cunha are both going to play, but it means there's one place up for grabs. And I think this is the problem. I think Man United's team at the moment, it can be looked at as a positive. People might say, he's starting to pick a settled team, but I mean, that is good and it's not, because the settled team he's starting to pick, there's some players that I wouldn't have playing. So it's kind of frustrating. But what I would say, we know Mbeumo and Cunha have to play in the attack, and it just means that there's one place up for grabs. Now, you've got one place being battled between three players. You'd probably say two players because this manager doesn't play Xerxes. So you've got Sesko and Mason Mount battling for one position. So if Sesko plays, that means Mount's on the bench. But if Mount plays, it means Cunha plays through the middle. And that means, as I said to you, there's no place for Xerxes, which is just ridiculous. So again, man, it's one of them things where it's one of them things where it might look good that it's a settled team, but I'd much prefer, to see certain players playing if it was meant to be a settled team. But at this moment in time, man, it's frustrating. It is definitely frustrating. But as I said, it's not much we can do, man. It's not much we can do, because if he's winning 3 games in a row, even though I hate this system, even though I don't rate the manager, even though I don't rate the majority of the players that keep playing, you can't really complain at the moment because he's winning games. And, that's the best way to kind of keep fans, or to keep other fans on your side. So, yeah, it's madness. But I think tomorrow, what does he do? I just got a feeling he plays Mason Mount, because just like Dallo and Bruno, he loves Mason Mount. He loves Dallo, Bruno and Mount. So I just got a feeling he plays Mount. For me, I'd definitely play Xerxes or Sesko. But I don't know why, but I think he plays Mount. And the reason I think he plays Mount is because away from home, I'm looking at their fullbacks, and Ola Aina's out injured at the moment, and I think so is Zinchenko. So that Nico Williams will play, but it's just whether Nico Williams plays right back or left back. And I think what it is, if Nico Williams plays right back, he might put Mason Mount to nullify Nico Williams, because Nico Williams does get up and down from right back. So he might look at Mason Mount as someone that can, track Nico Williams in a sense, being away from home. Who knows? But as I said, man, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't play Mount personally, but I just got a feeling he could do that. But yeah, I think the team he plays tomorrow, might have two changes. It could be unchanged, but if he does make the two changes, then it might be involving Mason Mount and Harry Maguire. And I think if those two come out, if those two come into the team, it could be for Lenny Yoro and Benjamin Sesko. So yeah, that's the way I see it. I see it going. Let's go through some of your chats. Big up, guys. Guys, make sure there's 15 of you in there. Smash the like button, sub to the channel, and make sure you're sharing the channel as well. Let's see. So Lion Towel says he has had back-to-back wins. Give him a break. I mean, you know what it is now, yeah? I'm laughing because it's like Amorim's been that poor, yeah? But all of a sudden now, because he's got wins, we have to be giving him chances. And again, it's another show of lowering the standards, So a manager can be that poor and last season be forgotten about, the start of the season be forgotten about. And now because he's got 3 wins in a row, which I've already explained to you guys that, he has been very, very fortunate. All of a sudden now, it's give him a break. And then what happens when he does go on a run again of losing games, because he is going to lose games, yeah? We're going to be back to square one, where certain fans are now going to be turning, saying, yeah, Amorim needs to go. For me, it's important to see the bigger picture from early. Because Man United are winning games in a row, I'm not going to ignore the fact that Man United have been poor, and the fact that, this manager has been lucky. He has been fortunate. I think it's important to see the bigger picture and just, be consistent. And the facts are that he has got away with it. No one can deny he hasn't, but he has won 3 games. So let's just see what happens against Nottingham Forest. If he beats Nottingham Forest and he goes and beats Tottenham, then I think even myself will start saying, do you know what? I don't rate the manager. I don't rate this system. But again, you can't really say too much. But people that are saying, give him a break and all this. Yeah, listen, the guy still has the worst win percentage of any Manchester United manager. So we have to look at the bigger picture, Big up to Gamer as well. Big up to Sham. So Gucci Man says it's either drop Sesko and bring in Mount in the only change. Well, yeah, Sesko started the last game. So, yeah, Sesko started the last game. But all I'm saying, yeah, if he makes changes to this team, do not be surprised if it's 2 changes and it's going to be involving Mount or Maguire coming in. Because I don't think he changes the team. And I'll tell you what's worrying for me, for what Amorim has said, yeah. The fact that he adapts his team for every game, me personally, I think that's a problem. Because I want to see a manager that has a certain philosophy, whether I like it or not. I want to see a manager that has a certain philosophy and go with it. Which is why, in a sense, yeah, I don't rate this this formation. I don't rate how the manager sees certain players, etc. But if it was a case where they were winning every week and I could see something, then I'd be like, I don't rate it, but fair enough, I can see something. I don't see anything in this system. I don't. You know, people might say that United have improved, etc. I think what's important to look at is the fact that United have got better quality in attack. Because if this manager plays the same system with the likes of Højlund and Garnacho still there, yeah, Man United would be at the bottom. They would be. But the fact that Mbeumo and Cunha is better quality in attack, obviously aided by Ahmad as well, this is why United find themselves probably a bit more comfortable in the position in the league. But what I would say, the fact that he adapts to every game, I don't think it's a great thing, because at what point do we start seeing, your philosophy or a philosophy that we can get behind? I'm never going to be of the opinion or of the mindset that Man United play long ball. Like I just don't like to see that. There are times you have to go long. I do see that, but for me, I just want to see some good football, and we haven't seen any good football really. And until we see that, yeah, I can't really support this Ruben Amorim. I think fair enough. He's got 3 wins in his last 3 games, but the football that's being played is still a problem for me. I just look at better players have come into the team, and they're just masking over what's been happening. I think the build up from the back has been a lot better. The midfield for me is still a problem. It is still a problem. The attack really is the only positive, I would say, because you've got goals there, and you've got and even you've got better players that are not even playing. So, but yeah, I think it's important, man, to just remain, cautious at the moment, as I said. But yeah, no, I do agree, man. I think if there's a change, I think Mason Mount will come in for Sesko, if it does happen. Yeah, bro, listen, man, I'd love to see Xerxes start, but this manager just clearly doesn't rate Joshua Xerxes. He doesn't rate him. And again, it's pointless to keep saying, why is Xerxes not playing? Why is Kobe not playing? The reality is he doesn't rate them, and he's not going to play them. So unless they sack this manager, or he goes on a bad run of form or whatever, and it calls for changes, we're not going to see Xerxes or Kobe play regularly. This is why January is massive, because by all accounts we've been hearing that United have been trying to block moves for Xerxes and for Kobe Minu. Again, if you're them, you're trying to get out of there because the World Cup's coming up, and as it stands right now, both players are not going to the World Cup because they're not playing football. So in their own for their own well-being, they need to get out and play football. If their moves get blocked by the club or by whoever, it can only be because they're gonna have to say to Amorim, you have to play them if he's still here. So I'm very interested to see what happens in January if this manager's still here, because as I said, man, I think those 2 players especially, and they are pushing for moves. There's been rumours that they are pushing for moves. But the fact that it could be blocked because, obviously, because of AFCON with Ahmad, Mbeumo, and Mazraoui going out on loan, it's good news, really, because I don't want to see these 2 players go. Because these are two of our best players if they're playing the thriving system. Again, I've always said the 4-2-3-1. This is the formation that I want to see United play, with Ahmad in the 10, Mbeumo from the right, Cunha from the left, and then Xerxes as the striker, and then Kobe in one of the 2 positions with whether it be a Baleba and Adam Wharton. That's what I want to see. And then you got Sesko, obviously, that can come in as well. I want to see the 4-2-3-1, because Ahmad for me is being wasted as a wing back, and Ahmad's a number 10. So I'd love to see Ahmad in that 10 position. But as it stands right now, we're not going to see that under this manager. So it's one or 2 things. They either sack the manager and change the system, or they just keep riding this out until however long. And again, I don't want to see this manager keep scraping results, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, man. But yeah, I'd love to see Xerxes start, but unfortunately, him and Kobe, it's not going to happen, man. So we'll have to wait and see till January what happens. Liverpool got cooked 3-0. My team, Newcastle, won 2-0. Who you think will win Carabao Cup? So again, yeah, I done this yesterday. If any of you didn't see the stream from yesterday, for me, You know, I could be wrong, but I've got a sneaky feeling for Crystal Palace. I think the Crystal Palace game against Arsenal, you know, it's going to be interesting because Arsenal obviously will be at home. Now, do Arsenal play an unchanged team? Because I think if Arsenal are still, by the time that game comes around, you know, if they're still dependent on the league in terms of trying to increase their lead or trying to get back on top or whatever it might be, who knows? They might not even be in the top four, but it's unlikely by the time that game comes around. Does he play a strong team against Crystal Palace or change the team? Now we see that against Liverpool. Liverpool changed their whole team to play some youngsters and a few first team players, and they got absolutely battered. So does Mikel Arteta change his team against Palace away at home? Because I think if he changes his team and plays a weakened team against Palace, I think Palace will win that. Because I think Palace will go strong. Because again, Palace are in Europe in the Conference League, but you know, for them to get another trophy under their belt, Carabao Cup, and they got a top manager, you know, and they got some dangerous players. You know, I can see him playing a strong team against Arsenal, and if they do change their team, you know, I think they could win that game, and who knows, man, they can go all the way, you know. But I think we have to look at, you know, City, Chelsea, and even Newcastle. Them teams are still in there, you know. So any one of them could be the favourites, but you know, I would say keep an eye out for Crystal Palace, man, definitely. Gamer says, I'm predicting Man United to win 2-0 tomorrow against Nottingham Forest. I mean, I hope so. I do hope so. But again, I want to see what team he plays because, you know, Nottingham Forest are going to sit deep. And I'm looking at the players that he plays, and there ain't too many players in that starting lineup that he goes with that are capable of opening up, you know, a defensive line of what Nottingham Forest are going to do. You know, I think Ahmad and Cunha are the only two really that I'm looking at as kind of, you know, creating chances or opening up a team from a low block. So yeah, could be one of them things. But hey, Gav, why do you think Liverpool are losing? What should they do differently to come back better? Change the formation. That's the first thing, and I've always said this: three at the back. They should be going three at the back with the players they have. I think the very fact that he has a dilemma. I mean, I know Isak's out injured, so it makes it easier for him to play Ekatike through the middle. But when everyone's fit, you know, his team selection is going to be, especially in the attacking third, will be interesting because you've got the likes of Wirtz, you've got Isak, Ekatike, Salah. All four of those players in different ways have to get game time. You know, Florian Wirtz, along with Isak, were the big money signings of the summer. Mo Salah's the highest paid player at the club, and Ekatike is the most informed forward they have. So when they're all fit, and obviously got Cody Gakpo as well, who out of all five of the players is probably the most one that you could probably say, okay, we don't mind dropping him or whatever. But out of all the performing players, he's probably second to Ekatike. So again, he's got a problem in the attacking third to make in terms of what combination he plays. And then you look at the midfield. I think Gravenberch trained today, so it's touch and go whether he plays against Liverpool. McAllister's been poor. Curtis Jones is out injured. You know, so you're probably looking at a midfield tomorrow of Szoboszlai, who's been decent this season, but Szoboszlai, McAllister, and possibly Endo if he doesn't play Wirtz in the 10 or whoever. So again, there is problems there, man, because they've got injuries. I think Gravenberch might be on the bench probably. They're in poor form. Confidence is probably low. You know, I mean, who does he play right back? Does he go with Conor Bradley again? Does he give Frimpong a game? Because I'm looking at them playing Villa tomorrow, and who's going to be on the left hand side for Villa? You know, it's probably going to be, you know, who plays out there? I think you got Morgan Rogers, John McGinn might play out there. I don't Sancho. I don't think Sancho starts. So the right back he plays, you know, more or less has to be able to deal with that, to deal with what Villa are gonna pose. You know, so obviously Van Dijk and Kanate will be back tomorrow. Obviously they didn't play against Palace in the cup. Does he go with Kirkes or does he go with Robertson? Because Kirkes has been poor. You know, Robertson's more experienced, but his legs are gone. And then Mohamed Ashford will be back in goal. So again, yeah, they've got problems, man. And what I would say, yeah, the change of formation is a massive thing, and I've always said this. But I think, you know, I think once they once they end the run of getting beat, because you know if they get beat tomorrow in the league again, that'll be 5 league games they've lost in a row, which would be madness. And I think once they kind of stop that rot, you never know, man. There could be confidence, you know, going into the future games, and you know it could change. But at this moment in time, man, yeah, they're definitely struggling. They're definitely struggling. Yeah, Liverpool got Aston Villa next game. Big up to Melanated Twinkster. Big up. So Gucci Man says it will be a game we will have a lot of the ball. Sesko will be perfect. Yeah, listen, Man United should have a lot of the ball against Nottingham Forest. Like, I'm predicting that because Forest are not going to mind United having the ball. But it's how United break them down. But what people need to what you need to realize, yeah, is that you know you need if United are going to have the ball, you need as much players that are technically sound on the ball, in the lineup as possible. That's what needs to happen. So when you're saying Sesko will be perfect, you know Joshua Zirkzee will be more. He'll be more suited to a team being on the ball as often than what Sesko would be. Because as a technician, Xerxes better. You know, I like Sesko from what I've seen of him. But if you got Xerxes as the striker in a team that's dominating possession, you'll get a better Joshua Xerxes. You will definitely. You know, so again, I'm expecting United to have more of the ball, but I just don't trust this manager in what he's gonna play. So yeah, we have to wait and see what he does, man. Have to wait and see what he does. So Gucci Man says, I don't see us losing anytime soon. Well, let's hope so, man, because when we do, it's going to make that comment look very silly. That's what I will say, man. I think I'm not going to come on there and start saying I don't see Man United losing anytime soon, because for me, that's just not realistic. You know, if Man United were playing scintillating football, blowing teams out the water, etc., I'll be of that opinion. But I'm not taking nothing away from winning them last 3 games because they haven't been convincing. You know, let's not forget that, you know, Brighton made it 3-2 before Mbeumo got the 4th. And that was due to the substitutions that he made, you know, Ruben Amorim. So, yeah, let's not get carried away, man. 3 games, 1 in a row is good. But when we start hearing, you know, we're not losing anytime soon, yeah, listen, I think we need to park that one, because that's not realistic for me. Because all of us, because Man United could easily lose tomorrow. You know, we could easily lose tomorrow. So yeah, let's be wary of that, man. So those guys create chances when we attack. They know what they're doing with the ball. It's scary. Yeah, but Cunha's not a Cunha's not a chance creator. Cunha's an individual talent. He's a maverick. Brian Mbeumo's not a creator. You know, he's a wide forward goal scorer. The only creators really in this team is Ahmad, and Ahmad's playing at wing back. So again, that's not true. That's not true, Gucci man. Those guys create chances. Bruno's not really a chance creator. He's a volume creator. There's a difference. Man United don't really have creators in their team. The only creators you would say in Man United's team are players like Ahmad. You know, Joshua Zirkzee is a different kind of creator. He's a striker, but he has the technical abilities to create as well. And then you've got Kobe Mino to an extent as well. The rest of the team are not creators, so people need to understand that. As I said, Cunha's a top player, but he's not a creator. He's a maverick. You know, maverick and creators are a bit different. You know, Mbuemo, as I said, is not a creator. You know, Sesko's not a creator. Casemiro's not a creator. So when we're saying these guys create chances, we attack, it's not as simple as that, man. It's not as simple as that. And as I said, you're going to see tomorrow anyway. Because if he plays the team that is expected, and only Ahmad and Cunha are the only creators there in the team, trying to break down a low block, you know, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. So yeah. Who's better this season? PSG or Arsenal? Better at what? That's the thing. Better at what? Because if you're asking me who's the better team, it's PSG all day long. They proved that yesterday. You know, I think you can't look at Arsenal as being top of the league. I don't take nothing away from that. I don't. I've already told you guys that Arsenal are 17th in the league for open play goals, which is poor. To think that a team are top of the league and they're 17th for open play goals, that just tells you its own story. It tells you that, you know, that the league really is a pretty poor league, you would say. And it shows you that Arsenal are getting by off of set pieces. Like, no one can deny that. So, but yeah, when you're saying who's better, PSG or Arsenal, the better team is PSG, which they are by a country mile for me. They're a better team. I think Arsenal's team are solid. You know, they've got a solid defense. You know, you take away that defense, you'll quickly realize that this Arsenal team ain't great. It's the defense that are providing the foundation as to what they're doing. Gabriel, you know, Urian Timber, Saliba. You know, Saliba is touch and go to play tomorrow, I think. But it's their defense that is what their foundation is. You know, and then you got the likes of Zubamendi, who's defensive, Declan Rice, who's got legs. So it's their defense. But the overall team's PSG. How they've been performing this season, again, I haven't watched all of PSG's games, but they are top of the league. Liga. It's very tight with them, Marseille and Monaco. And as I said, man, I think Arsenal are top, but it hasn't been convincing. They've just been the most consistent team, you would say. So, but yeah, let me know what you mean by who's better. Is it better performance or just a better team overall? If it's the better team overall, PSG. If it's the better performing team at the moment, I can't really say because I haven't seen PSG play really regularly. So. Hamburg Street says Peckham. Big up, man. Gav, the beanie today getting chilly over there. Yeah, listen, man. It's this English weather's not a joke, man. Yeah, it's cold out today, man. You know what it is? I love having the woolly hat on, man. The beanie on, because once you've got this on, your whole body's just warm. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just nice, man. It's nice. It's one of them things I don't even want to take it off, man, wherever I go. But yeah, nice. Just nice having it on. Guys, come on, smash the likes, man. Only 9 likes. Make sure we're smashing the likes. And again, make sure you're subbing to the channel as well. We're going to go through Nottingham Forest's team, you know, because they've got a few players, you know, definitely one player in particular that will be wanting to put a show on in Elliot Anderson. You know, I look at their team under Sean Dyche. You know, they are going to be very defensive tomorrow for me. You know, you're looking at Matt Sells in goal, Belgian international. The back four will be interesting because I'm not sure who's going to play right or left back. I know Nico Williams is going to play, but Zinchenko's out injured. Ola Aina, who's a massive miss for them as well, is out injured. I think Ola Aina might have done his ACL. So, but he's a very good defender, very solid. But Nico Williams will play, whether he plays right or left back, and then they bring someone else in. I think they got that Nicolas Savona from Juventus. So he might play right back. And then Nico Williams will go left back. Then you got Murillo, who I like. I think Murillo's very good. You know, he'll be a left-sided centre-back. Again, Murillo's Brazilian. So I wonder if Murillo, I think he's Brazilian. Brazilian or Colombian he might be. Let me check. Murillo. I swear he's Brazilian. I could be wrong. Let me check where Murillo's from. So Murillo, yeah, Brazilian. You know, and the thing is, I'll be surprised if he doesn't get called up to the Brazilian squad. You know, if you're thinking of left-footed centre backs, you know, Gabriel obviously will be the main star, I believe, alongside Marquinhos. But Murillo could be back up to that. I don't know, but he's good. I like him. And then you got Milinkovic. You know, I think as a pairing last season, you know, apart from Van Dijk, Kanate, Saliba, and Gabriel, you know, that was probably the best pairing last season. You know, so again, a lot of what they do will be built off of that. Midfield, you know, I think their midfield is going to be a problem. You know, I think their midfield could easily be Man United's midfield. You know, Douglas Luiz, Elliot Anderson, and Morgan Gibbs White. You know, I think as a three, you know, that could be a problem. That could be a massive problem. Obviously, Gibbs White in the 10, Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson, you know, in the engine room. And I think that midfield three could be a problem for United against United's two in there. Because, you know, if you look at Elliot Anderson and you look at Morgan Gibbs White especially, those two have got legs in that midfield. And their legs could be a problem for Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. Yeah. Not to mention Douglas Luiz, you know, he can control a game from midfield from deep as well. And he can burst into the box. So that midfield two of Man United's, that Bruno and Casemiro, you know, they could come under pressure from Nottingham Forest's free. So yeah, that battle's gonna be good. I'm looking at their front, their three up top. So you got Callum Hudson-Odoi, that will be on the left hand side, and I think this is why, for me, Lenny Yoro has to play to deal with Hudson-Odoi's pace and trickery. And then on the right hand side, you got Dan Ndoye as well from Switzerland. So he's gonna be a problem. You know, I think his battle with Luke Shaw will be good because Luke Shaw's got he's got physicality, he's got pace. You know, and Dan Ndoye, you know, he's quite relentless in the sense of up and down. So that battle will be good. And then you got Igor Jesus up top, you know, who's an aerial threat. You know, obviously new to the league. You know, and he could cause problems, man. So I think that Forest team, they've got players in there that United need to be wary of. You know, and I think they're going to play on the counter attack, and they've got pace in the wide areas. So yeah, they could prove a massive problem, man. And how Amorim picks his team will let me know, you know, what he's trying to do, because we know Sean Dyche is going to sit in. He's going to have his team sitting in. So it's important to have as many ball players on that pitch as possible. But we know he's not going to do that. So come 3 o'clock tomorrow, come 3 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to see what happens, man. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. So Arsenal going nowhere, going to get humbled in grand fashion as is customary. Bro, I can't disagree with that, man. I can't disagree. Cannot disagree with that. As I said, these Arsenal fans are deluded, man. A lot of them come into the chat and, you know, when it's going well, these guys want to keep telling you that Arteta's the best, you know, Saka's the best in the world. Declan Rice is better than Caicedo. You know, David Raya's the next coming of Gianluigi Buffon. You know, Saliba's the next Marcel Desailly. All this nonsense. You know, this is what these Arsenal fans do. So when it's all going good, you know, they want to show up. But let's see if they're gonna have the same energy, man, when it all comes crashing down. That's what I want to know. Is this? So guys, yeah, give me your predictions for tomorrow before we wrap up. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna go 1-1, a draw. At the City ground. I'm gonna say 1-1. You know, although, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if either team win personally. You know, but yeah, I'm gonna say 1-1. I think a 1-1 draw is probably a fair result. Yeah, I'm gonna say 1-1. Let me know what you think in the chat before we wrap up. Yeah, some good games on tomorrow, man. No early game though. All 3 o'clock kickoffs, and then you got the 5:30, which I believe is Tottenham Chelsea, and then you've got the Liverpool Aston Villa at 8 o'clock. So yeah, some good day of football, man. I can't lie, I'm looking forward to it. You know, there's a lot of, and the thing is, this weekend's massive because there's a lot of teams that are vying for similar places right now. So yeah, if Man United can capitalise tomorrow, you know, who would have thought it? Man United could find themselves in the top 3 before the other teams play. So, and then obviously the next game is against Tottenham. I don't think that Arsenal are unstoppable. It's just that the rest of the league is not that strong. Anyone in the big 6 can be got at. I agree. I think this season, everyone's going to be everyone, you know, and I think it probably might come down to, you know, I think people might say it might come down to consistency, but I think it might come down to what they're going to do against their rivals in the bigger games. And this is why I'm saying with Arsenal, yeah, Arsenal are top at the moment, you know, and, you know, they have shown more consistency against some of the other teams. But what I would say, the fact that the 2 teams that we were saying at the start of the season, you know, that are competing for the league title in Liverpool and Man City, Arsenal haven't beaten them yet. They've lost one and they've drawn one, luckily, you would say. Great finish from Martinelli, but really and truly, you know, he shouldn't really have not got through if he was tracked by the Man City defence. So against those 2 teams, they picked up 1 point, you know, and I think if we're looking at head-to-head against those teams, they're going to need to at least beat one of them teams in the reverse fixtures. Not to mention, you know, they're going to have tougher games, you know, against the likes of Newcastle, United, you know, North London derby against Tottenham, which is always going to be difficult. So, yeah, man, there's a long way to go. Long way to go. I mean, look at the way Bournemouth are performing as well. They've still got to play Bournemouth as well. So, yeah, listen, man, there's a long way to go. And as I said, I think this season everyone's going to beat everyone. You know, but I'm still going to say Man City. I'm still going to say Man City. I think Pep's got something this season, even though, you know, they have been up and down so far. Going 2-1 again, personally, just can't see us keeping a clean sheet. Yeah, big up Fitz, man. You know what? I don't know if United scored 2 goals against Nottingham Forest, if I'm honest, because, as I said, Nottingham Forest are going to sit deep, and how do United break them down? Because if you look at the games against Liverpool, the games against Brighton, you know, I didn't see the Sunderland one, but United are going longer more often. I don't think the space is going to be there for them to go and do that against Nottingham Forest. So it's how they're going to break Nottingham Forest down. And this is why, as I said, if he plays the more technicians on the pitch at the same time, then I'm more confident. But he ain't going to do that. So we'll have to wait and see tomorrow's game, man. But I'll be interested to watch that game. Definitely. Big up to Chris and Mark. Big up, man. Big up for coming through. United's midfield is weak. That's their real issue. Bruno gives the ball away cheaply too often. Yeah, but again, Bruno's being shoehorned into this team, which is the massive problem. And again, it's boring going over the same thing. You know, Bruno Fernandes should have been gone at the start of the season when Saudi come in for him. But the fact that we got to watch him every week, and I think what people need to realize as well is that Bruno isn't even really doing anything really in this team. You know, he's really just someone that is just playing a role, I would say. You know, I think in this run at the moment, he's just someone that is playing in midfield and just providing energy in that midfield. But in terms of the quality play, I know people will get excited over the fact that he let the ball go for Mbeumo's goal, you know, but again, people might say it was high IQ, intelligence. I hear that. But, you know, I think if any intelligent player does that, really, because, you know, the way the ball was played, even if Bruno would have got a touch to the ball, it would have been a heavy touch and given the ball away. So the fact that he let the ball run, you know, it was good intelligence. But some of the things I've been seeing, man, people are just getting way too carried away. But again, the midfield's poor. You know, Casemiro, for me, has always been a top player. You know, he has always been a top player, Casemiro, and it's one of them things where, you know, Man United's midfield is better with Casemiro in there. You know, but when the game's more stretched, this is when Casemiro, you know, is out of his depth, because Casemiro has never been a player that just runs all over the midfield, all over the place, trying to plug gaps. He's not. You know, he likes, obviously, the team to be a bit more compact so he can fill in the gaps. So, again, yeah, man, it's one of them things where that midfield does need improving, 100%. You know, and obviously Elliot Anderson playing tomorrow, you know, it's been obviously interesting. Elliot Anderson, you know, he'll be looking to put on a show tomorrow, man. And I like him as a player. And, you know, someone asked me the other day, who am I going to take out of Baleba, Anderson, Adam Wharton, and Angelo Stiller? So for me, a lot of it depends on Kobe Minu for me, because I'm looking beyond this system, you know, because this midfield two, I don't want to see this midfield two being played like this. I prefer 4-2-3-1, where you can have a number 10 in there, a central number 10. So the two in midfield, because their role changes, you know, and for me, I'm still saying Baleba, but Man United need a controller in midfield, you know. So I don't want Man United to have Baleba and Anderson, because for me, that's two highly energetic players for me. And I think you only need one or the other. The fact that, for me, I think Man United need a left-footed central midfielder, which I've been saying for ages, is important for the balance of the midfield, you know. And I think this is why Baleba comes into it. This is why Adam Wharton comes into it. You know, Adam Wharton's a top player. I don't think Wharton goes to United. I think Wharton goes to Man City. I think he goes Man City. And I'm looking at the way Adam Wharton plays, and it'll be a disservice bringing Adam Wharton to Manchester United, because Man United don't suit the way Wharton plays. You know, he can go into Man City and just slot into their system easily with the way that Man City plays. So I think it's a disservice to Adam Wharton in him coming to Man United at this moment in time, which is why I'm so desperate to see a change of formation, a change of manager, because I just want to see good football, and we're not going to get good football under this manager in this system for me. So I think if you're looking at a combination of Wharton and Elliot Anderson, because I think he needs to be a left-footed, right-footed player. But again, you got Kobe Minu that figures into this, you know. So if I'm looking at Kobe Minu in a different system as being someone that's right-footed that can play, I think the necessity for an Elliot Anderson isn't so much, which would mean, for me, it would either be Baleba or Adam Wharton. Now, Baleba's legs in that midfield would be key, but I like Adam Wharton as a player. But I think Wharton goes to Man City. So if Kobe Minu was to somehow move on, even though I don't think it happens, then maybe you could say Baleba Anderson or Wharton Anderson, or, you know. But a lot of it's going to be dependent on the combination of what United see. I like Angelo Stiller. I do like Stiller. The only thing I would say with Stiller is that, because if Adam Wharton was right-footed, then for me the perfect combination would be Baleba Wharton, you know, with Kobe there as well. But I think the fact that Wharton's, because you know, the thing is, I would take Baleba and Wharton. I would, but you know, having two left-footed central midfielders, you know, it's the same when you have two right-footed central midfielders, which we've always seen. I think having a left-footed one and a right-footed one for balance is probably better. But I think that Stiller, for me, it either should be Stiller or Wharton in that sense, because they're both left-footed and both would probably provide the same kind of thing. I think Stiller's probably more creative, but for me, it should be between Stiller or Wharton. And I would pick Adam Wharton in that sense. The reason why I think Baleba should, I know Baleba's been poor, but the reason why I think Baleba should still be looked at is because I look at what that midfield needs in terms of the energy, in terms of the press resistance, you know, the fact that he's young as well. And I do think he's got a level to go up, Baleba, if we're putting away his recent form. I think he's definitely someone that should be pursued, you know. But again, the names we're being linked with are positive names, man. They are. But yeah, I would definitely say Baleba. Baleba for me should be still number one, definitely. And then, you know, Walton or Anderson, because Man United need a controller in that midfield, and Walton's the best one. So, which is why I'm saying Walton. I mean, if Man United could get Baleba and Walton, even though they're both left-footed, you know, which is unlikely to happen, I'm happy, you know. But I think the Elliot Anderson one should be dependent on what happens with Kobe, I believe. Because what will be the point of Kobe staying if an Anderson comes in where, let's say United play the two, Kobe's still not going to play, so why is he still here? If United play the three, you know, that means you've got competition for places. So a lot of it depends on that for me, you know. It's a shame players like Cass have to get old. Yeah, but it's a thing though, man. But again, Casemiro, his career could be prolonged if you play a tight midfielder. If you play a tight midfield, you know, if there isn't so much gaps between the defense and midfield to attack, you know, you'd get a better Casemiro. But when there's gaps all over and the team are that stretched, you know, any midfielder is going to be out of place because there's too much to do. But this is Casemiro's last season for me anyway, because he's on a high wage. You know, would I keep him around for his experience? 100%. But is he going to want to take a wage cut? Why would he? When he can go and get that in Saudi. So, yeah, it's Casemiro's last season for me. But, yeah, what a player he's been, man. He has. Walton, Cunha, Embuemo, and Sesko will be a fucking problem, bro. 100%, man, I agree. But let's not forget Ahmad, Xerxes as well. You know, I think let's not sleep on Ahmad and Xerxes. You know, but again, man, and let's not sleep on Kobe Manu as well. Like Man United have got real quality in their team right now, and if you add an Adam Walton there, you know, or a Baleba, this team can go far. But I don't think under this manager. So, but yeah, Man United got some serious. I've got some good quality, man. But the system kills it for me. You know, I'm just desperate to see a 4-2-3-1, or a 4-3-3. 4-2-3-1 personally, because I want to see Ahmad in the 10. And I think if United had a manager that could have play that formation and play the right players, Man United can be back up there, no doubt. You know. Listen, Damsgaard's very good. Very good. But Damsgaard was rated before he went to Brentford. You know, if you remember, Damsgaard was at Sampdoria, you know, and there was talk about him then. And obviously when they played, I think the World Cup that Christian Eriksen might have collapsed, World Cup or the Euros. But Damsgaard's come into his own. He's a very good player. You know, he's someone that I think people sleep on him because he hasn't really got the physicality, you know. But as a footballer, you know, he's a massive problem for Brentford, man. He's a good, very, very, very good player. So yeah, but again, United not going to sign Damsgaard. They're not going to sign Damsgaard because again, this system which is being played at the moment, you know, the only place Damsgaard's going to play, really, you would say, is one of the 10s. So yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves for coming on each and every time. As always, make sure you smash the like button and sub to the channel. Let's try and get the numbers up, guys. So if you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you do so on the way out. And as always, make sure you sub to the channel as well if you're new. And guys, make sure you share the channel. Make sure you share the channel. So yeah, obviously, yeah, Man United tomorrow against Brentford. I'm not sure, guys, if I'm gonna do a watch along tomorrow because I might be out. So yeah, probably no watch along for that game tomorrow. But I'll try and do a reaction to the game straight after. I'll try and do a reaction to the game if I can straight after. But yeah, I'm possibly out tomorrow. So yeah, possibly no watch along, but I'll try and react to it. So yeah, yeah, keep an eye on obviously on the schedule. Make sure your notifications are on. But yeah, listen, let's hope Man United can get 4 in a row. But as I said, when that team sheet comes out tomorrow, I'll be very interested to see the team he plays because it will let me know what his intentions are. And again, I think he's going to name an unchanged side for me, possibly with the exception of two changes. But as I said, man, it's going to be an interesting game. It's a massive game tomorrow because, as I said, United, before all the other teams play, could find themselves in the top four. I mean, who would have thought that? And then all of a sudden, expectations, which they should be, go up. Because this Man United squad right now, I said at the start of the season, is a top 6 above team. It is. You know, I don't believe it is with this. I don't believe it's a good team with this manager. But with the players they have, they should be aiming for that with one game a week. So, yeah, let's just see what happens, man. Johnny Gunner says 3-2 Brentford. What, Brentford? Who Brentford playing tomorrow again? I forgot who they're playing, Brentford. Who are they playing tomorrow, Brentford? Oh, Crystal Palace. Yeah, that'll be a good game. Yeah, Brentford, Crystal Palace tomorrow. Yeah, 2 teams that are going well, man. So 3-2, that's mad. Let's see if that happens. But yeah, man, some good day of football tomorrow. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves each and every time. As I said, smash the like button, sub to the channel. Check out all the other content as well. As I said, some good content on there. Again, they're all in playlists. So if there's anything in particular that you want to see or hear me chat about, yeah, make sure you check that. Yeah, big up to Mo Shikadon. Appreciate it, man. Big up. Again, guys, yeah, check out all the other content, man. There's some good playlists on there. So there's a playlist that I do that's gone on there. It's called Outrageous Clips or Not. So anything that I've said on the stream that's been, you know, that has been eye-catching, if anything, you know, they're on there as a short, you know. But again, these things get taken out of context, some of them, because if you haven't watched the whole stream, you know, some people just look at the headline and take it out of context. So the actual related videos on there as well. Again, there's some clips of me, obviously, 5-a-side, some goals on there that I score. So yeah, there's some good content on there. You know, obviously everything Manchester United, me talking about United, whether it's teams or whatever it may be, some transfer news or whatever. Player spotlights, you know, Next Gen 50 as well. So yeah, there's some good content on there, man. Very good content on there. So, and obviously I've got content coming out for the members only section for my boxing. That's coming up on the 6th of June. 6th of December. So yeah, I'll be putting some clips together for that as well, for the members only. So yeah, man, some good things happening. So yeah, as I said, appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate you guys coming on and interacting as always. And let's hope United can get the result tomorrow, man. 3 o'clock kickoff against Nottingham Forest. It's not going to be easy. But as I said, man, these are the games now where Amorim should be looking at getting some momentum. And if he doesn't, you know, we're going to have to discuss it as always. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves. Smash the like button, sub to the channel. And yeah, I should catch you guys tomorrow. If not for the watch along, but for the reaction to the game tomorrow. Take it easy.